Today we're going to be talking about tenant improvements done to spaces. I get a lot of questions on, well, how much should the landlord be putting in on my deal? It's kind of a loaded question. I would say a long time ago, maybe 8, 10 plus years ago, there used to be a designated number per square foot that landlords would give you, but that's just not the case anymore. There is a kind of deal by deal situation, but I would say there's also a few default. I wanted to go through a couple of those things. When it comes to really any space, whether it's small bay stuff or even larger stuff, by default, landlords will do paint, carpet, and lighting, LED lighting. And this is for like existing space, not brand new built out space, but an existing building today that needs a refresh. By default, landlords do paint of the office and sometimes the warehouse, depending on how bad the warehouse is, a carpet in the office area, or I know there's been a big shift to polished concrete floors. Side note for landlords, the polished concrete floors actually are almost cheaper in the long run, because when you get a small bay tenant that moves out in 3 to 5 years, instead of buying all new carpet, you just repolish the floors, and it's a little bit cheaper per square foot at the end of the day. Then lighting. So if the space does not have LED lighting today, landlords will put that LED lighting in both the office and the warehouse. When it comes to general layout of the space, so the split between the office and the warehouse, I get a question often like, well, should the landlord pay for more build out, or what's the story here? A general rule in the small bay market is that there's 20% office, 20%-ish office, and the rest of it's going to be warehouse. Now, if a tenant wants to build out more office, making it larger than 20%, landlords are going to be a little hesitant. Obviously, lease term has something to do with that. So if it's a long-term lease, landlords are more willing to do that. But ultimately, once that tenant moves out, they're most likely just going to demo that office and bring it back to 20%, because the majority of users out there just want 20% office and 80% warehouse. That's typically the case on that front. If you want more office, you're probably going to need a longer term lease. And when I say longer term lease, you're probably looking 5+ years to make it even worthwhile for these landlords, just because it's so expensive to build out really any sort of office these days. The most expensive components being the HVAC and sprinkler drops, I would say, are definitely the most expensive parts of that. When it comes to configuring or reconfiguring the office within a small bay space, with it only being 20% overall office, that's another kind of loaded question. With small bay stuff, a lot of landlords, they just say, hey, take it or leave it. It is what it is. Unless it's a smoke and deal, they may add one private office or, a conference room, maybe even a kitchenette, depending on where the water and drains are located. But really, there's not a whole lot of dough that landlords will throw into a space if it's ultimately already configured in that 20% office and 80% warehouse, other than the defaults, paint, carpet, lighting. So that's kind of the mindset that a lot of these landlords have. They know that they are eventually going to lease a small bay space that is configured 20% office, 80% warehouse. So why would they dump any more money into making more office? Now, I'm just repeating myself. I'm not saying that's always the case. Depending on the term, they will build out more, but it's going to be very term dependent. If you have any questions regarding this, or maybe you have a lease or looking to lease a space, feel free to give me a call or shoot me over an email, and I'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Hunter's 2 Cents podcast with Hunter Stanek of Gagne Commercial Properties. Hunter works with business owners, investors, landlords, and tenants throughout the Twin Cities and surrounding markets. Each episode is based on real-world experience and the questions he hears every day from clients and industry professionals. Rather than following a script, Hunter shares practical insights, market observations, and commercial real estate knowledge in a straightforward, conversational format. If you have questions or have a topic you'd like covered in a future episode, feel free to reach out to Hunter directly. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.